to a beloved sovereign, King George VI.
The last state funeral of a British monarch was in 1952. King George VI, the father and predecessor of the late Queen, was laid to rest as the British Empire was starting to decline. 4 years earlier, after opposing colonial rule and being instrumental in India gaining its independence from Britain, Mahatma Gandhi had been assassinated. His killing plunged his nation into mourning. Around 2 million watched his ashes being scattered over the river Ganges. And 2 more political assassinations just 5 years apart. The funeral of US President John F. Kennedy was broadcast to millions on TV as the visual medium was starting to gain momentum. And in 1968, civil rights leader Martin Luther King, not a state funeral, but considered just as significant by many.
And there are millions for the funeral of President Nasser.
Mass grief for politicians too. Unprecedented scenes in Cairo, where millions turned out to mourn Egypt's second president, seen as anti-colonialist and national hero, Gamal Abdel Nasser. The year was 1970. In 1989, millions too came out in Iran to bid farewell to Ayatollah Khomeini. The crowd highly emotional, a chaotic display of grief. And Princess Diana, the people's princess as she was known, killed in a car crash in 1997. Her 2 young sons walking behind her coffin in full public view. Few who watched that day have forgotten these images. The funeral of Pope John Paul II in 2005 not only drew about 1 million faithful, but also more than 200 heads of state, government and royalty, kings, queens, presidents and prime ministers. 6 years later, the state funeral of Kim Jong-il, carefully choreographed and controlled. The death of Nelson Mandela in 2013 was mourned by millions worldwide. After spending nearly 3 decades in prison for demanding equality and fighting South Africa's apartheid system, the country's first black president was buried in his rural home village of Kunu. The most recent royal funeral, a much smaller affair than Queen Elizabeth with just 30 guests, that of her husband. Prince Philip died last April at the age of 99. Many say the Queen never recovered from losing her life partner. The body of Prince Philip will be laid to rest next to his Queen once the funeral is over on Monday. The first time in history, the funeral of a British sovereign will be televised live around the world. Stefanie, Dekker, Al Jazeera.